He's not the Pope. He's not God.
I believe he's been chosen.
Do you know what is the Working Americans Tax Cut Act and how does it work?
It's a bill that was just introduced in Congress. And what the bill is trying to do is basically for people who make just enough money to get by, to cover their basic expenses, to not have to pay any federal income taxes. I'm not a tax accountant, tax attorney, so this isn't tax advice. This is just what I've read. If you're single and you make $46,000 a year, or if you're married and make $92,000 a year, you pay no federal income tax. If you are head of household and you make about $64,000 a year or less, you also qualify not to pay any federal income tax. It might sound a little complicated, but just keep in mind, if you make $46,000 a year or less, you shouldn't be paying any federal income taxes. Additionally, there are some tax cuts coming as well, where if you make $80,000 a year or less as a single filer, or you make $160,000 a year or less as a married couple, you are going to also get a tax cut. One thing to keep in mind is that your Social Security deductions, your Medicare deductions, that's going to continue the way it always has been. That's not going to change as part of your income deductions. But there's going to be elimination or reductions in your federal income taxes based on those thresholds that I just mentioned.
So how are we going to pay for this as a country?
As per the bill, this is going to have to be paid for by those in the higher income tax brackets, which is why some call it a millionaire's surtax. What the bill is trying to do is that for those people out there who make just enough money to pay their bills for their basic necessities, to not pay federal income taxes or to pay less in federal income taxes so they can use that money to go save for a house, save for their kids' college education, etc., etc.
Trump just exploded and canceled the entire thing. This is getting completely out of control. You might be saying, wait, wasn't Trump all about opening the Strait of Hormuz? That's right. But now Trump announced that he is closing it. What? Closing it to open it. Closing it to open it. Can you imagine something dumber? Well, I'm sure there will be something. First of all, just days ago, Trump claimed victory by getting Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, which never happened. Now he says we're going to win by closing the Strait of Hormuz. It's going to require some explanation. Let's first put up Donald Trump's Wall of Text Truth social post where he said, quote, about the negotiations that J.D. Vance was leading, which failed miserably. He says, quote, so there you have it. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to. But the only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. Effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. At some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis. But Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them. This is world extortion. And the leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. I have also instructed our Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas, blah, 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 blow them to hell, locked and loaded, etc. You can read the entire thing. But the point is, Trump said it was open. It wasn't. Now he says he's closing it.
Well, it's official. Prime Minister Mark Carney and the Liberals have secured their majority government. They took all three of the by-elections tonight. The most interesting is the Quebec riding Terrebonne, where originally the candidate Tatiana Auguste had won that riding by one vote in the general election last year, and then the Supreme Court annulled that election result. Well, it looks like she is going to win that riding by about 1,000 votes this time around. The Conservative Party only pulled in about 3% of the vote in that Quebec riding. In the Scarborough Southwest riding of Toronto, the Liberals pulled in about 69.9% of the vote, and the Conservatives got 18.4% of the vote. And in University Rosedale, the Liberals pulled in 64.4% of the vote, the New Democratic Party pulled in about 18.9%, and the Conservatives pulled in about 12.9%. It's a big night for the Liberals and for Prime Minister Mark Carney. They have secured their majority, and there are still rumors of more floor crossers that could possibly come, so we'll have to see if that happens. And I will also say that this is the end for Pierre Poilievre. He has not officially resigned, but the writing is on the wall. He is done. We will probably not hear very much from him following these by-elections. I would suspect that he will resign himself. Otherwise, the Conservative Party will for sure organize to get rid of him. They have the time now to do it and to find a new leader, so we'll have to see what happens. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, check this out. This is a bit crazy. California Democrats advance Stop Nick Shirley Act to criminalize investigative journalism. So after I expose widespread fraud all across America, and quite frankly, states like Minnesota and California are just the worst at it, letting fraud take place, especially inside of immigrant communities. For instance, the Somalians in Minnesota and then the Armenians in California. And so now they're trying to silence anybody who exposes fraud inside of California. For instance, if this bill is passed, the Quality Leering Center that was in Minnesota would be protected from being exposed. That is absolutely crazy. And the crazy thing about this is the person who's proposing this bill, her name is Mia Bonta. Her husband is the Attorney General of California. And so let's say you expose fraud. This is what could happen to you inside the state of California. You could get a misdemeanor, a $10,000 fine, imprisonment, and your content forced to be deleted. That is absolutely crazy. It is time for people to either stand up or we face mass oppression from those that rule us.
Donald Trump reached a new low when he insulted Pope Leo, the first American pope, by calling him, among other things, weak on crime and too liberal. What is going on in that man's head? He said this Trump said this in response to the Pope's comments during Easter Sunday, calling for peace. It's the same Donald Trump who has called the Bible his favorite book on the campaign trail but can't name a single verse, who sells a Trump-branded presidential election of the Bible made in China for $100, and who we all remember held up a Bible in front of St. John's Episcopal Church here in D.C. after ordering protesters for racial justice tear-gassed. Maybe Trump has forgotten what's written in that Bible, or more likely, he never knew it in the first place.
So do you believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterm elections?
I hope so. I mean, I think so. It could be. It could be or the same or maybe a little bit higher. But it should be around the same, maybe a little bit higher. But it should be around the same.
Mark Carney's Liberal government says they want to ban social media use for minors under the age of 16. And if they go through with it, that could have a huge impact on queer and trans people across Canada. That's because a policy like what Carney's Liberals endorsed at their convention this past weekend likely involves the use of age verification technology. And that can pose huge problems for queer and trans people of all ages. Liberal Party members passed a resolution that calls for a law similar to one introduced in Australia last year that would set a minimum age of 16 for creating social media accounts in Canada and puts the onus on social media platforms to police who can create accounts. And the idea behind the policy is well-intentioned. Party members said they want to protect kids from all of the harms that social media platforms present. And let's be real, they do present a lot of harms to young people. And the policy has widespread support. 75% of Canadians polled by Angus Reid said they supported a social media ban for users under the age of 16. And an open letter to the Prime Minister supporting the ban was also signed by groups including the Canadian Medical Association, the BC Pediatric Society, and the Ontario Psychiatric Association. So a lot of people want it. It's protecting children. Australia is already doing it. What's the big deal? The process of age verification comes with a lot of caveats. Things are different now than back in 2004 when a lot of us would put on a birthday a few years different from our own to access sites like Neopets or MySpace. When it comes to high-profile policies like this, we are largely past the era of simple self-identification to prove your age online. In Australia, which the Liberals modeled their policy after, social media platforms are required to use digital age verification tools to confirm users' ages. Maybe you have to upload your passport or birth certificate to create an account and then scan your face when you log in. Maybe you have to record a video verifying your age, or maybe the platform will use a bunch of data from the internet to guesstimate your age based on your browsing history. But these tools have been shown to disproportionately harm trans people in particular. Trans users are more likely to have out-of-date government-issued ID, or might have inconsistent names or genders across banking and credit card info. And when you talk about facial recognition technology, these kinds of tools are often built on gendered stereotypes and have been shown to frequently misgender or misidentify trans trans people or mislabel people of color. Then there's the added layer of how HRT can change a person's face over time, and it might not match the photo that you submitted when you created your account, or make somebody look younger than they actually are. And platforms mandating that users verify their legal names can out trans people online, or make them feel unsafe in online spaces. And all of these factors could lead to trans people of all ages, not just youth, having a harder time getting online or being barred altogether. And that's a big deal because a lot of queer and trans people can find vital, life-saving communities online, particularly if people in their real life aren't supportive or affirming. For a lot of trans people, social media is the only place they can access reliable information about transitioning. And policies and processes like an age-based social media ban can make that harder for LGBTQ++ folks of all ages. And that's on top of the arguments that could be made around the positive aspects of online community for young people under the age of 16 too. Beyond the specific concerns for queer and trans folks, these tools also present a lot of privacy concerns. Platforms that collect this level of personal and biometric data are subject to hacks or data breaches, and that's on top of how they can sell or utilize that data for things beyond age verification. A recent breach of Discord's age verification data compromised 70,000 users' ID, for example. And then there's a matter of how kids will just find their way online anyways, whether that's by skirting verification requirements or going elsewhere altogether. Research has shown that in the face of age verification regulations, users just flock to unregulated sites, which can pose new challenges for regulation and moderation of content online.
We have some big news this afternoon. The White House is facing major blowback after a stunt gone wrong. If you missed it, Donald Trump and the White House held a stunt this afternoon where a grandma, DoorDash driver with a grandma t-shirt on, came to the White House and delivered McDonald's. The point of the stunt was to support and show how no tax on tip policies help everyday Americans. But since that moment, the president has been called out for a, quote, let them eat cake moment. Because we're learning that the DoorDash driver, her name's Sharon, actually from Arkansas. It was a complete stunt. And, well, she has been using the tips she has received from DoorDash to pay off her husband's cancer treatment. And while Americans are saying she shouldn't have to, a grandma of 10 should not have to be driving for DoorDash while also having to try to pay off thousands of dollars in cancer treatment. So lots of news to cover. There's also news about Iran, Trump comparing himself to Jesus, and more. And I have the latest this afternoon. If you can, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to my Substack. Click the link below to support my work. I want to begin by telling you about what happened today. This is from DoorDash headquarters. A DoorDash delivery made its way to one of the most recognizable addresses in the world today. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Sharon Simmons, a Dasher from Arkansas, marked her order complete at the doors of the Oval Office on the south lawn of the White House, an unconventional drop-off to commemorate the first anniversary of the no tax on tips policy. For Sharon, the moment was personal. A grandmother of 10, she started dashing in 2022 to earn income while keeping control of her schedule. Since then, she's completed more than 14,000 deliveries, and like millions of Dashers, is now keeping more of what she earns in tips. Since no tax on tips was enacted, we estimate Dashers have saved hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, many people saw that and said, well, why should Sharon have to be driving as a grandmother? And she's a driver from Arkansas. The Oval Office, Washington, D.C., is a far cry away from Arkansas. She's not a local DMV driver. She didn't just pick up McDonald's because the White House ordered it. And if she was a local DMV driver, she wouldn't be able to get to the Oval Office like that. She wouldn't be able to pass clearance, pass vet. You as a president or as any politician, I mean, Michelle Obama once said this, you can't just order takeout or delivery. That's not how it works in the White House. But then there was this moment. Take a listen.
How much does this no tax on tips mean to you? I mean, I don't know what the structure of payment is there at DoorDash, how much you get in salary for delivery, and then how much of your income is tips. Can you kind of break it down to us and tell us what this no tax on tips really means for you?
Well, what this really means for me is, as they said last year, my husband, he was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. Sorry. During that time, I was able to take some time and take him to his appointments and, be there with him. But, as you know, going through treatment, even with insurance, you kind of break the bank. And we pretty much went through our savings, and so when I found out about the no tax on tips, I was like, this is incredible, because this, it's not going to replace my life savings, but it's going to help certainly with future doctor's appointments.
And listen, a lot of Americans are saying, well, Sharon shouldn't have to DoorDash to be able to pay for her husband's medical care. She, as a grandmother, should be able to be with her grandchildren should she want to do that. She should be with her husband who has stage 3 cancer should she want to do that. She shouldn't have to be dashing, and she shouldn't have to be making an appearance for a $100 tip next to the President of the United States delivering him McDonald's, when in reality, healthcare costs should be cheaper. It should be less expensive to get cancer treatment in the United States of America. And well, it was also the press conference that the White House held, the impromptu press conference, that really solidified the stunt and the backlash that the White House is receiving. Take a listen to this.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people...
Standing next to Sharon, Trump claimed that this image of him was him as a doctor. How could they come up with that, he says, referring to the media. Not Jesus, right? This is him as a doctor, he says. Last time I checked, doctors don't use lights out of their hands to cure a patient. They don't have angels overhead or wear a white robe with a red shawl like that. This wasn't a doctor, and the president is actively gaslighting the American public and many of his supporters who commented on this image and even called him the Antichrist for posting this. They turned on him for posting this, and he has since deleted it. And now he's claiming that it's a doctor. But I want to take you back to when Pope Francis died last year. This is what Donald Trump posted. Was he a doctor here as well? Or was he trying to cosplay as the Pope? I would argue the latter. Maybe he would argue the former. But that's not the only moment that caught a lot of people by surprise, because he was also standing next to Sharon the entire time, and he was asking her opinion on various politically charged topics, when in reality, she shouldn't have to be answering those questions.
Robert Barron supports you and your policies and praises you for defending religious freedom.
Yeah.
He now says you owe Pope Leo an apology. Will you apologize?
No, I don't, because Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran. Pope Leo would not be happy with the end result. You have hundreds of millions of people dead, and it's not going to happen. So I can't. I think he's very weak on crime and other things. So I'm not. I mean, he went public. I'm just responding to Pope Leo. And his brother is a big MAGA person, and he's a great guy, Louis.
No apology for Pope Leo. And well, if you want to know how the White House is dealing with this, here's what Dasha Burns, she's a political White House correspondent, she asked for a vibe check. Asked Trump world for memes that illustrate the mood at the White House right now as the president's blockading the Strait of Hormuz, feuding with Pope Leo, memeing himself as Jesus or a doctor. One administration official looked like that meme, the fire as he's on the computer. Two other people close to the White House sent the "it's fine, everything is fine" meme. Trump says, "My personality is going to keep us out of wars," another White House ally. So the White House this afternoon has been in disarray because of what the president has kind of led America into. And that none of this includes what we're seeing with Iran and the blockade overseas, which has been implemented by just the United States of America, not other allies, which have rejected Donald Trump's advances thus far. So that's where we're at. We're going to have more updates for you soon, of course. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I do want to say thank you to all those who have supported my work, who have liked, commented, shared it, and especially those who have subscribed to support my work. Click the link below to my Substack. We're building something bigger, and I'm going to have some exciting interviews for you this week, so stay tuned for more. And I'll see you tomorrow with another update.
She was planning on going scorched earth, and now those tweets have been deleted, and some people are wondering if this interview itself has been edited. Amanda Ungaro, ex of Paolo Zampoli, who alluded she had dirt on Melania Trump, President Trump, Zampoli, and Epstein, refrained from dropping details in her interview this weekend. Her interview ended up being mostly journalist narrative about Ungaro's deportation and custody battle, with limited direct quotes of her, and now these messages are off her Twitter. She had previously said, "I will tear down your corrupt system if it's the last thing I do in my life." Well, it looks like she's either received a lawsuit or threats to silence these claims she's making. She said, "Hello, Melania. I was around you for 20 years. You knew I was inside ICE, and you know what hurts after all this time? I stayed close to your family, your mother and your father, not because of you, but because of them at events and everything. Shut your mouth when speaking about me, because I will expose everything I know." And now we're finding out she has not done that. Now, after all that was said, here's Amanda Ungaro's Twitter. 100,000 followers, no mention of those tweets. Has she been silenced, or is she, deleting everything and preparing for a much bigger bombshell revelation? We'll have to see.
Now Tony Gonzalez is gone too. First Eric Swalwell resigns. Now Tony Gonzalez is retiring from Congress. Bye, 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 boys. Don't let the doors of Congress hit you in the ass on the way out. Tony Gonzalez posted this on Twitter a short time ago. And yes, I will always call it Twitter. That everything in this life has a season, and God has a plan for all of us. I don't think it's God's plans he has to worry about. Like I said in my previous post, I don't care who you are or how you vote, okay? If you're a creeper and you go after women or children or anything else, you have to go. I don't care what position you hold or how you vote. Get the hell out. And if you're in my comments saying we should wait for the investigations to play out and not rush to judgment, you're part of the problem. You can see yourself out. There's no need to announce your departure. I really don't care. I don't know you anyway, because I'm a survivor. It will be 20 years, almost exactly a month from today, 20 years that I survived SA. So if you are a creeper in any capacity, you do not deserve to hold any position of power or authority. And women, guess what? You're part of the problem too if you make excuses for them. Swalwell is already gone, but Gonzalez, well, we don't know if he'll be around long enough for that expulsion vote to actually take place, because his retirement date is TBD. I didn't know that was a thing. Apparently it is in Congress if you're a powerful male.
We are witnessing something truly extraordinary with this unprecedented public clash between the President of the United States and the Pope. Today, Pope Leo XIV said that he has no fear after President Trump attacked him publicly. In fact, Pope Leo said he's going to continue to speak out loudly against the war. And he said that the Christian message, in his words, were, quote, being abused. Now, the Pope is on this trip to Africa. He was speaking to reporters on board his plane. He said he didn't want to get into a debate with President Trump, but that is exactly what has happened. Why? This all kind of started after our 60 Minutes report last night that included criticism not only from the Pope, but also these three influential cardinals. It appears that President Trump may have been watching that, because at about 9 p.m. Eastern time last night, President Trump put out this lengthy post on Truth Social, and then he commented to reporters on the tarmac. Some of what he said, he called the Pope too liberal. He said the Pope was, quote unquote, weak on crime. Well, given those remarks, I mean, highly unusual. That's why then we saw Pope Leo react to that again this morning. This is not going over well with conservative Catholics here in the United States. Bishop Robert Barron is now calling on the president to apologize to the Pope, calling Mr. Trump's comments inappropriate and disrespectful. In another stunning move, the president also shared an AI-generated image depicting himself as a Jesus-like figure.
That post was met with swift backlash. I mean, Riley Gaines, for instance, said, "God shall not be mocked." David Brody, an evangelical journalist, said, "This goes too far. It crosses the line." It appears, since there has been so much backlash from conservatives, that that post has been taken down.
So it seems to me Trump's admin is at war with the Catholic Church. What do I mean by that? Do I mean an actual war? No. If they could get away with it, they would. You're damn right they would. So what's making me say this, right? So, I mean, if you haven't seen the last few days with Trump and Pope Leo, they've been kind of going at it. Trump's been very upset with Pope Leo because he does not want to support the war with Iran because it's a war of choice and it's something we didn't have to do. And he's upset because no one's supporting it. Not even the Catholic Church, right? Trump's approval rating is 32%, and it has continued to decline amongst Catholics and other religious groups. And, you know, if we take a look at Trump's, like, admin, such as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, his spiritual advisor, Douglas Wilson, very interesting guy. In case you do not know about this man, Douglas Wilson, like I said, Pete Hegseth's spiritual advisor, which is fucking scary, what I'm about to explain to you, they believe in outright censorship and ban imagery of the Catholic Church or the Catholic faith. That means they don't want anything with Mary. They don't want any imagery of her. Anything related to Catholicism, they don't want. They want that banned in public. If you guys cannot tell, this admin's completely fucking infiltrated. And the Catholic Church is in the way. Catholics are in the way. Orthodox are there too. They're also against this shit. Because no one's falling for the Zionist propaganda. And these Zionists have openly hate the Catholic Church. It's popular. They spread so much propaganda about the Catholic Church because they can't get their support. They don't fall for the bullshit. Israel views the Catholic Church as an enemy. Who controls this admin? Obviously Israel. That's why we're at war in the first place. That's all I got to say, guys.
We have some major news right now. MAGA is now declaring Trump the Antichrist. The MAGA rupture is growing fast on Truth Social with his everyday supporters declaring him the Antichrist. And with every hour, there's a new update on this, and it's getting even crazier. So here's what you need to know. Look at these comments. Trump is depicting himself as Jesus, God now. You know who does that in Revelation? The Antichrist. Literal blasphemy. Yep, and I'm officially 100% done with you at this point. Mocking our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is beyond ridiculous at this point. I cannot believe I voted for you 3 times. This is incredibly disturbing, Don. You are not okay. I'd call this idolatry, 25th Amendment time. This is completely wrong. Mocking Jesus now? I can't believe I voted for this traitor. Disgusting, sad. We elected the Antichrist. When MAGA is comparing their president to the Antichrist, demanding that he apologize, which I doubt he will, I don't think we've seen something like this before. So spread the word, subscribe to my Substack, link in bio to support my work, follow along, stay up to date on all the news you need to know about.
Trump once again says Iran wants a deal very badly, but won't say who he's talking to as he continues to try to manipulate the market. Israel-Lebanon talks begin today, but do they matter? Bondi looking at contempt charge. Trump loses in court again. More Senate races shift left, and more. It is 5:43 a.m. on Tuesday, the 14th of April. Oil prices fell below $100 again as Trump claimed Iran had made contact and wanted very badly to strike a deal in the face of his blockade. He declined to say who he had spoken with in Iran. Again, this is usually, it seems to be a way to manipulate the market so that his billionaire friends can make some money. The UN spokesperson said there is no military solution, warning that instability in the Strait is worsening global economic fragility. About 20,000 vessels are reported stranded with supply chains, including fertilizer, under strain. Reuters is actually reporting that a Chinese tanker sanctioned by Washington passed through the Strait of Hormuz despite the blockade. Iran had proposed suspending nuclear activities for up to 5 years. Apparently, the U.S. wanted 20 in negotiations, but the Trump administration rejected the 5-year offer. The report could not be immediately verified. Russia has offered to accept Iran's enriched uranium as part of any potential agreement between the U.S. and Iran. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, said the proposal was voiced by Putin in contacts with both the United States and regional states.
I could totally see this happening in the way that Putin would get another win in all this enriched uranium because Trump let him have it. Again, Trump has already dropped sanctions against Russia for oil, so they're making billions of dollars off of oil that previously they were not allowed to make money off of, and they're pushing that into the invasion of Ukraine. The UK is now pushing for Lebanon to be included in the US-Iran ceasefire framework. Right now, it does not include the fighting in Lebanon because Israel said it didn't want it to, and Trump didn't push back. So multiple countries now are saying that Lebanon should be included to end the fighting there, at least for a moment. As the Israel-Lebanon talks begin today, Tuesday, apparently Marco Rubio is going to be there, and Israel is saying that they are going to offer a plan for the long-term deployment of Israeli troops in southern Lebanon. The plan involves dividing southern Lebanon into 3 zones, according to the reports. The first zone would be about 5 miles inside Lebanon, where Israeli forces would maintain a long-term and intensive military presence. They would only leave if Hezbollah is fully dismantled. The second zone would stretch up to the Litani River, where Israeli forces would continue operating against Hezbollah before gradually giving control to the Lebanese army. In the third zone, north of the Litani River, a responsibility for Hezbollah's disarmament would rest solely with the Lebanese army. Again, these are Israeli-Lebanon talks today, Tuesday, in Washington, D.C. They don't really matter. Hezbollah has already come out and said that they are rejecting any talks. The Lebanese government doesn't have control of Hezbollah, and they're saying the negotiations are a ploy to pressure the group to lay down their weapons. About 90 protesters in New York were arrested in Manhattan as they stopped traffic to protest against the war on Iran and U.S. arms sales to Israel. The U.S. military said Monday it carried out a strike on a boat in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, killing 2 male narco-terrorists. Southern Command wrote on X that at the direction of its commander, General Francis L. Donovan, who is in charge of Southern Command, the Operation Southern Spear conducted a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel operated by designated terrorist organizations. They did not say which terrorist organizations those were. Apparently, there were 2 other strikes on Sunday as well. Swalwell announced that he is resigning from Congress shortly after Tony Gonzalez, who was in the middle of a probe over a romantic relationship with a former staffer who later died by suicide. He then announced that he was retiring from Congress as well. It would be great if we kept this up. There are people like Corey Mills and Sheriffless McCormick who are still in the House. It would be great if we cleaned house. So we'll see where this goes. But at least 2 of them are now leaving Congress. Democratic Representative Robert Garcia threatened former Attorney General Pam Bondi with contempt of Congress. This is as she was supposed to have a deposition with the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee today regarding her involvement in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Our bipartisan subpoena was very clear. Pam Bondi is supposed to testify tomorrow. He was saying this yesterday, whether she's the AG or not. If she doesn't show up, she will face contempt. And Trump took another L as he dropped a defamation claim against The Guardian and 2 other defendants over a report that federal prosecutors were investigating $8 million in payments the company received. This is his media company. They received from entities with ties to Vladimir Putin as possible money laundering. The Guardian reported in March of 23 that New York prosecutors had launched a criminal inquiry into money wired to his social media company through the Caribbean by 2 entities that appeared to be controlled in part by the relation of an ally of Putin, Russia's president. And 2 immigration judges who ruled against the Trump administration in the deportation cases of pro-Palestinian university students have been fired by the Department of Justice. Apparently, they terminated 6 justices over the weekend, but the 2 were more highlighted because they had pushed back against the Trump administration and delivered rulings that the administration did not like. And finally, the Cook political report has shifted 4 Senate races to the left. This was yesterday. They noted that the GOP is still favored to maintain its majority in the upper chamber this November. We can change that. The report moved 2 Senate races from toss-up to lean Democrat. This is the fight to replace Tom Tillis in North Carolina and Senator John Ossoff's re-election campaign. It also moved John Husted's, he's in Ohio, race from lean Republican to toss-up, and Senator Pete Ricketts, he's a Republican in Nebraska, his re-election attempt from solid Republican to lean Republican. And I keep saying this, please check to see that you're registered to vote. They are going to remove people from registrations, including in all of those states I just mentioned and others. So check today and very soon if you are registered to vote. Vote in the primaries. Check again to see if you're registered to vote, and then vote in overwhelming numbers in November. And please get others to vote. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
He's not the Pope. He's not God.
I believe he's been chosen by God.
I think he thinks a little too much of himself.
The Pope is doing what God has blessed him to do.
His position is not to debate with somebody.
I think it will blow over anyways. Two people not happy with the way things are turning out.
I think that the photo was very disrespectful.
Words can't explain it. It just feels wrong.
I look at it to be a religious and presenting himself as a religious person.
I would say it's somewhat sacrilegious, but understanding President Trump, it does not surprise me.
I've been commenting on Facebook that he's a godsend. For me, he's doing good.
He's portraying himself as like a savior in some way. I mean, he may want to implement some ideas that may serve the country well, but he's in no way a savior.
This, a couple of weeks ago, we had it on for 75 cents for a 2-pound bag of onions. We just got a shipment in. We had to raise it to $1.
Food Fair owner Munther Zaid says shippers and suppliers are adding fuel surcharges, forcing him to pass those costs on. The fuel crisis from the Middle East war is driving food prices higher, starting with imported produce and some meat and dairy.
The fresh stuff is where you're going to see the immediate impact.
It's becoming more expensive for trucking companies to transport goods, with the price of diesel jumping 40% since the war began. That's rippling through the food supply chain to grocers.
We're now at the point where we can't hold off any longer, and what consumers are seeing at the fuel pump is what the grocers are seeing at their back doors.
And shoppers in rural and remote communities will feel the squeeze even more.
We should anticipate that there's going to be an increase in food inflation in the months ahead. You just have to be transparent and honest about that. There's just no magic bullet that can erase that from happening.
Though experts say with Canada's growing season around the corner, buying local seasonal produce could provide a buffer for grocery budgets.
As we get into the spring, our fresh fruits and vegetables aren't coming from as far away, and so the freight impact will not be as profound.
What's up, beautiful and amazing people. Guys, I can honestly tell you that this week could be one of the most weirdest week in the United States of America. And this is because of, the story or what you're seeing in the internet about the president, the United States of America's president, beefing with Pope Leo specifically. We have seen MAGA supporters calling on Trump and telling him, hey, wait a minute, the Antichrist. We are seeing chaos in the Congress, and of course we have seen policies that could actually change everything from taxes to social media. And of course we cannot say that this is normal politics. Anyway, my good people, I want now to start discussing what is really happening in the United States of America. So the Pope, that is now Pope Leo, he didn't actually back down after what the president did. He came out and said he has no fear over the president of America, that is now Donald Trump's administration. And the issue here is that the fight was about the war and morality and everything. Remember, during the Easter speech, he said he wasn't like encouraging what is happening between America and Iran. So technically, the president, Poplio himself is pushing for peace in Iran, that is now between the two countries. And, on the other side, the president is pushing aggressively when it comes to military actions. Is the one that is giving them pressure to act. We are imposing a blockade. No, we have actually stalled it. We are, imagine that. So when the president, Donald Trump, posted an AI image of himself looking like Jesus Christ, people believed that he had actually lost it. I don't know what you think about it. Probably you could let us know in the comment section about that, because it really shocked us. So many people, we couldn't believe that that was the president himself doing that. And most people found it not really nice. And in the next video, we're gonna talk about that, the American people's reaction towards the president's remarks on the AI image, which I later on found out that it was deleted by himself, on social media. So the MAGA on the other side is turning against Trump at this time and moment. And it is very serious and scary when your own camp, when your own base starts questioning who you really are. Is actually, people expected a mature version, an understanding version of a president, not somebody that just accepts and does anything that they feel like they want to do without really considering other people. So we have some people from MAGA, the MAGA support group, that are really talking. They have started talking and calling on Trump. They're calling him an antichrist. They're telling him that he has actually gone too far, and that is because he is mixing religion with politics. And it's not good that he does that. Let politics remain politics, and let religion remains to be religion. So of course we have Christian leaders that have come out to criticize heavily Trump's action, and they're saying that it's really distressing to watch such kind of things happening in social media spaces, and it is done by the president himself. The power. It just doesn't make sense. And the president, he doesn't really care about what he's doing, but again, he is actually doing it in front of millions and millions of people around the world. Remember that America is the superpower, and normally what they do normally affect, or it will actually trigger the world to react and talk. Anyway, there is this stunt that the president did, and it actually terribly backfired on him. And of course, as you all know, the president is normally known for bold moves, but I can tell you that this time round, everything backfired. If you talk about the AI generated religious image, it actually it received a lot of backlash and criticism, negative criticism. If you look at him attacking the Pope, he received, people responded by criticizing him at the same time. When you look at him talking about religious conservatives, it felt uncomfortable among so many people around the world, especially the religious ones. So in this particular time and moment, so many people have started distancing themselves from the President of the United States of America. And, as you all understand, is that this is one of those moments where the strategy becomes the story, because for him, it could be a strategy, but now it's becoming a story and people are talking about him. So now let's talk about the minority leader in the Congress, that is Schumer, who has fired back at the president after his remarks about the Pope Leo. So remember, is this Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, right? He actually stood boldly in the Senate and he talked to the president. He responded to his remarks. He responded to his comments about Pope Leo. And for him, he believed that the president was disrespectful, the president was dangerous and divisive, which shouldn't have been the case. We all know that the president holds an office that is highly respected, so he should at least also respect other people. And also, we've known the office of the president around the world to be safe and to be, uniting the people of his or our own country. Not only that, but around the world. Okay, we've only seen that theme of unity. So in this case, we are seeing something that we call political positioning, whereby Democrats, they are holding this side of moral authority, and that is whom they believe they are. And then on this other side, we have Trump's team and people that have positioned themselves as, towards a strong man narratives of somebody who believes in himself. So all this brings in a clash, and it's how the world works. Anyway, guys, the Strait of Hormuz drama has not yet ended, and we're going to talk about foreign policies that so many people are not really into it, because people want these issues to be resolved diplomatically. They want them to sit down and talk, because they are being affected for things that they didn't cause at all. So the president has pushed a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. And of course, after pushing for the blockade, he later on said, you know what, we're going to halt this for some time. We're not going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz again. Remember, he directed the military. So after the blockade, oil prices are spiked, global tensions are skyrocketed, and over 150 vessels that were carrying oil to different destinations of the world were destroyed, and that's a big loss. So in this case, how is he contributing to the economy of the world? Is it in a positive or a negative way? Probably you could tell us what you think about this, because I cannot really say that it is a strategy. No, it isn't. He's just pressurizing the world for no reason. So the Congress is in chaos, and this week we have seen how messy the United States politics has become. I mean, so much has happened this week, guys. So much that I don't know even if you're gonna take it into our mind and feed our mind with all of these things that are happening in America. So the Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has finally stepped down after a major scandal. And at the same time, we have investigations going on. There are a lot of, he has resigned. There is public outrage. And of course, what we are seeing from this story of his is just, an instability kind of story that, it won't be okay for him to just be in this particular seat and continue serving the American people. So Mark Kelly, on the other hand, has introduced a legislation on about cutting tax. So they're still talking about it. It has not yet been passed in the parliament. But for him, is aiming at reducing federal income tax burdens, and that's going to help so much because the normal citizens of America are going to benefit from it, not the rich ones, but at least those that are at an average level. Anyway, my good people, I don't know what to think about that. So we have this guy called Mark Carney. The guy is suggesting, is actually from Canada. He's suggesting that, or he has come out with a proposal to restrict underage children from accessing social media. And Australia did that. And I hope that really gets to happen also in Kenya, because honestly, these children don't really deserve to be in these social media spaces. So many governments and also parents, they are worried about this influence and information, not just information, misinformation. It's through these social media platforms that information is being passed, and most of them, they are not accurate informations. Unless it's a live stream, then we can call that an accurate but recorded. Anyway, guys, I don't know what will happen with that. We will keep bringing you more updates about the stories that we're just talking about, because every day there has to be something new that is said about the particular story. So there is a growing concern about journalists being under threat. And guys, imagine you go investigate about a fraud or corruption that has happened, and then it's labeled under this, and you have to go through all this. It's not fair at all, right? Because at the end of the day, when journalism is limited, then accountability disappears, and the world will not get to know the truth, like what's really happening. And then there is this interesting story about Melania and this was it. There was this particular Ungar. Oh my God, I just forgot the clip, the name from that clip. But there is this stories that involves Melania Trump, and that is about a personal narrative that is circulating in the social media spaces. So many things have been said about Melania Trump, to the point that people feel that at this point he has actually sued this lady, because the lady deleted all the social media tweets, all the tweets that he had about, this particular story came about from an interview that happened during the weekend. So we'll keep following up on the story, and then we'll let you know. So if you look at the American politics in general, it's no longer just about the left versus, it's not just about the left versus the right, or the west versus the east. It's about power. It's about faith. It's about image, reality, politics, morality, name them. But as you all know, Trump isn't just fighting Democrats anymore. He is actually starting to clash with the religious institutions. And of course, this is affecting a huge part of his own base and also global opinions, because as you can see, the allies are really distancing themselves. So thank you so much if you watched the clip up to this point. I do appreciate your presence. I'll see you in the next video.